Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and oh my gosh, they actually had the balls to post this. Mark Rosewater's back at it again. I assume with the white Vans, that's totally something he would wear. But anyway, he's doing the mailbag column for Zendikar Rising. Oh my gosh. Now see, he posted it on October 5th, but he asked for the questions from the community on September 11th, 2020. Which finally, for once, Wizards got through without spoiling a card called Trapped in the Tower on 9/11, like they did last year. So I think the questions about Zendikar Rising were perhaps a bit more polite in early September than they would have been, now. And he doesn't always shy away from like the kind of harsh, accusatory questions. I mean, he dodges the big ones, like fundamental concept, like why is Wizards so, terrible in the last 2 years? And more importantly, what are you going to do about it? He is constantly bombarded with that question and has no answer. But he's been known to take some pointed questions before. It's just I don't think they existed because everybody thought at this point that everything was going to be peachy. So if you're looking for like what the hell went wrong with this set or what were you thinking, some of the more intelligent members of the community were saying that during spoiler season, just seeing the cards without even having to see them in action, just looking at them thinking, holy crap, this was a mistake. But not everyone. Anyway, first question was, are allies now permanently dead? I know it wasn't a perfect mechanic, but fans are sad they'll never be seen again. I never got what was up with that. It's just like a pseudo tribal. Ooh, it literally works like a tribal. Just run any tribal and you're basically running allies. I didn't see the appeal. At the time it was cool, but it's such a like leave it behind mechanic. I don't understand that standpoint at all. So he says allies are not permanently dead. It was 100% Mark's intent to have them in Zendikar Rising. In fact, he says party was supposed to also be allies, which that makes absolutely no sense. He says every party member was handed off from Vision Design as an ally in addition to its other class. How would they make that work? How would you do party and ally at the same time? How would you even balance that? What was he thinking? You can't just do that. And it turns out they didn't just do that because you can't just do that. So he's like, basically the next time we go to Zendikar, he's bringing allies back, which, well, you tried once and failed. Hopefully you fail the next time because the way you were going to bring it back in addition to party would have been batshit crazy. Next up, we got what was the reasoning for choosing the mechanics that came back? He says Landfall is the most popular mechanic from original Zendikar. Hell yeah, Landfall's freaking awesome. They ruined it this time, but it's good. And Kicker was a good fit to balance out the set as it was handed over from Vision Design. Really, mana ramp mixed with Kicker. You thought that was a good idea. Multiple colors of land direct fetch, non-stoppable, non-mana dork based mana ramp in, let's be honest, 4.5 of the colors, and you thought Kicker was a good fit to, quote, balance it out. To balance against Landfall. Spoiler alert, people just put them together. They didn't balance shit. Next question. God, this only gets worse from here, I'm sure. I didn't actually read these ahead of time. Does Zendikar still have any design space after this set, or should it be retired? Oh, come on. Who's that stupid? Zendikar is the combination of two themes, land-focused mechanics and top-down adventure tropes. Both are very deep wells. I could probably make a few sets out of just old Zendikar mechanics that I couldn't fit into Zendikar Rising. No, guys, they're out of ideas and they're going to abandon Zendikar forever. Come on, what the hell? Next up, some guy on Twitter with blue hair, I'm shocked, asked, I'd love to know the thought process behind only 6 out of 10 double-face dual lands. That's not what they're called. A very weird number/mix of ally and enemy as opposed to the normal all ally/all enemy way we see duels. Is it weird that I didn't notice that there was 6? This is the first I'm hearing of that. I guess I legitimately just didn't notice. Anyway, just thinking about it for 3 seconds, everybody's going to say Omnath, and it's like 4 colors, and somehow that makes sense to him. But let's see. Here's what happened. We knew we wanted to have some number of the pathways in the set, but we didn't have space for all 10. Why not? You could literally do anything you wanted. That makes no sense. So we examined which 2 color combinations were the most important. That ended up being the combinations that represented the 4 classes from the party mechanic: Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, and Wizard. Oh, I was wrong. I was going to say it was Omnath. Okay. In order, that's white-black, blue-black, red-white, and blue-red. Oh yeah, that is true. I should have thought of that. That's really obvious, actually. So those are the colors that the class is primarily and then secondarily in, he says. Those 4 colors by themselves seemed odd, though, because they excluded green. Oh, that's fine. Exclude green whenever you want. I think they made up for it with like cultivate. Also, if we're going to split 6 and 4, it seemed like the land focus set should get the 6. Wait a minute. You know, I was thinking it and I was going to say it, but he just came out and admitted it. I did not see that coming. They're holding off so they can sell them to you later in a different set. Like maybe a smaller print run than standard, perhaps. You know, maybe some kind of Horizon set or Legend set. Just throwing that out there. And he says something that doesn't make sense. I don't really get what he's going at here. He says, the problem was that no matter what green pathway we chose, if we had 5, it would be 1 color with 3 lands, 3 colors with 2. I love how he flips the definition there so it can't make sense no matter how much you think about it. And green with 1. All I know is you can do 5 temples and you can do 10 and they're perfectly equal. So whatever he just said, it sounds false to me. I think he means if they did 6, but he literally said if we had 5. So... But if they had 5 and 3 in green, they would be perfectly level. I don't know what the hell he's getting at. Anyway, we've done 5 dual lands many, many times, and we've always color balanced the set, aka had an equal representation of each color. Wow, Wizards didn't have equal color diversity and representation. I'm shocked. We decided it was better to do 6 and 4. Where are the 4? You keep saying this. Just tell us where the 4 are and how much we're going to have to pay for them. My God. Anyway, they're not even that good of lands. As 6 can't be equally balanced and there's no precedent to weigh it against, blah, 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 who cares, and whatever. I already stopped paying attention halfway through this. So, next up, we got, will there, after Kaldheim's release, be symmetry to the MDFC dual land cycle? Finally, somebody knows what they're called. Modal double face cards. Asking for a Mel friend? What's a Mel? He even capitalized. A friend named Mel? That's a weird way to phrase that. It's not like an acronym. I literally have no idea what this guy's saying. He's probably speaking Twitterese, and I don't really journey to that shit realm very often, so anyway, he says the 4 pathways in Kaldheim, and yes, they're named pathways, that's news to me, were designed to complement the 6 pathways in Zendikar Rising. We're not monsters. Oh, that would be funny if they did 6 and 6 again. I don't know if you could even do that, but that would be funny. Okay, so one color is getting heavily screwed in Kaldheim. And the remaining 4 are in Kaldheim. Well, that answers that. I'm so glad I speculated on where they're going to print them and make us pay for them and already said it would be a limited set when that's not true. Cool. Thanks, Wizards. So next up, you mentioned that MDFCs were planned for Innistrad. What other sets since then were they considered for? Oh, probably all of them. You get a land idea, you want to put them in everything. I could answer some of these for Mark. So they weren't planned for original Innistrad. Okay, so I don't know, he just literally just shuts him down and says, no, you're completely wrong and your premise is wrong. Where did you hear that? Anyway, just when we designed the transforming double-face lands, the ability to make modal double-face lands is pretty obvious. Okay, so like the idea was there, but they never wanted to do it? Or whatever. The first set to ever have the MDFCs planned for was Strixhaven. Oh, wow, that's like 2 from now. That's that Harry Potter set. Or no, is that 3 from now? I think it's 3 from now. I don't remember when the D&D one comes out. They're all next year. Who cares? They'll be lucky to have a game left at this point, the way they're managing it, so I'm not that hopeful. Also, there's no fixing standard until the next rotation. Anyway, and the first set to have them in Vision Design, in a Vision Design file, was Zendikar Rising, as it was the first of 3 sets with MDFCs to be designed. Okay, so is Strixhaven going to have 10 of them reprinted again? Because he basically just said that. He didn't say that they did take them out of Strixhaven, but he didn't say that they didn't, if you know what I mean. So that should be interesting. I'm sick of flippy bullshit and proxy cards and like marker cards or whatever. That's all. Just get that crap out of my game. So next up we got, I like the flavor of, quote, digging up MDFC lands to get at the spells beneath them. Okay, well, I don't know where you got that idea, but sure, you do you. But I was surprised how little that comes up in the set. Probably because you just made that up. Did it ever play a larger role in the design? Okay, I assume he heard this somewhere, but then again, the last guy thought he heard that MDFCs were supposed to be in Innistrad. He literally said, you mentioned that MDFCs were planned for Innistrad, and then he's like, no. So who knows where these people are getting these crazy ideas. Plus, it says Twitter for iPhone is how he sent it. So, I mean, that gives a good idea of his intelligence level. To still be an Apple customer in 2020, that just takes a special kind of person. Anyway, the answer is there's Tazim Raptor, Pyroclastic Hellion, Kazandu Stamper, And Nissa's Zendikar at common and into the royal can bounce a creature so you can play a land on the other side to trigger landfall, and Marasa Rootgrazer, Confounding Conundrum, and Wayward Guidebeast at higher rarities. While it could have had an even larger as-fan, which I already forgot what that means. I think it means prevalence in the set. Or like total supported cards or something like that. It's definitely a theme in the set. Well, nobody cares about lore and like story accuracy and like plain features. We care about standard not being shit. So maybe you should have spent more time on that. So next up, I thought this person already asked a question. I don't know, these anime profile pics, who knows? So how much effort was put into MDFCs to make sure players can always tell which side is the front for rules purposes? Do they have a front? It's amazing how little attention I paid to these stupid lands. I'm like, okay, you pick a face, whatever. I didn't know they had like a side up or whatever, or a front. He says, we made a symbol, the triangle one in the upper left-hand corner of the cards. That's news to me. Also, on any MDFC that isn't a land on both sides, the land is always on the backside. All right. I'm sure that's relevant to something, but you can't like morph unflip them or whatever, because now they're different. Like, or I should say, you can't transform them. That rule went over real well with the customer base. Anyway, next up question is, what were some of the discussion/concerns you all worked through when looking at the MDFCs or the dual face lands? Because that sentence isn't redundant. Any good stories about how they got made? Oh, he goes on for miles about this one. Does anyone actually care about this answer? I'm going to try and summarize it. Let's see. He says, there are a lot of different things we had to get worked out about how MDFCs, I'm already sick of saying that, were going to work and how they were going to look. It looks like a land glued to another land. I mean, how much time did you put into that? Here's a few of the issues we had to tackle. I'm just going to read the headers because he has like a book written for each of these. Do the rules treat this as a split card or a double face card? Gee, how about a double face card since it is one? How much information do we put on one side to let you know what's on the other side? And should both sides have information about the other side or just the front side? I mean, that's a good question. The answer to both of these is don't print them. What kind of symbol did we want? And which side is the front side and which side is the back side? And I don't care about the details about any of those. So go read it on Daily MTG if you give that much of a crap. Next question. We got one creature land in the set. Was there any consideration to reprinting the ones from Worldwake? Oh my god, no. Let me just answer that right now. Hell no. You know what those are worth? Some of them? I think like Celestial and the black-red one are like shockingly worthless. The rest I'm pretty sure are pretty tasty on price. Haven't checked them in a while, but they're up there. You can't just drop that kind of value on standard and expect standard to be affordable. I mean, they learned that from Khans of Tarkir with fetch lands. So let's see what he actually says, because he's not allowed to mention card values. We did do a bunch of exploration with having creature lands, which, guys, if you didn't play during BFZ, creature lands were a cluster. They were so annoyingly evasive and broken and unstoppable, everybody hated them. With that in mind, let me just reread this. We did a bunch of exploration with having creature lands. Why? It's just like, why did you bring Ugin back? Everybody hated it the first time around. What makes you think you can pull it off again? That's so stupid. That was like them reinforcing Dredge in Modern Horizons. Like, everybody hates it. Drop it. And you know Mark is obsessed, by the way, he mentions this all the time, with bringing back Infect. Somebody, please, fire this person, okay? He tried to mix allies with party and thought that would work. Remember the companion mechanic? Yeah, they dropped it years ago because in early playtesting or whatever, it was way too overpowered. But he wanted to make it work. He is obsessed with taking broken, overpowered shit that is so toxic for the game and shoving it down the design team's throat and saying, here, do this. We're going to do this. And then when it blows up in his face, he waits 5 years and then tries to do it again because he wants to not have the legacy of being responsible for almost everything rated 7 and up on the Storm scale. Which is mechanics so broken they'll never be reprinted again, basically. And then they reprinted Storm in the Ravnica sets anyway, so that's great. Storm is a 10 on the Storm scale, in case you're not familiar. So anyway, he says, animated lands are very much a Zendikar thing. Nobody cares. They're toxic for the game. Game first, lore second. Guess he doesn't get that. Basically, they got edged out by MDFCs. Thank God. There's only so much room for lands in the set, and MDFCs took up most of that space. You know, it's weird. There's not Fabled Passage, and there's not Evolving Wilds at all. So they really feel like they overpacked it with 6 cards in the rare slot. Okay. I mean, they're on the rare slot, but still, they could have done like spell lands or something in the uncommon slot. It's kind of like really boring during draft. Anyway, this is one of the reasons, by the way, that there's lots of design space left for Zendikar. Oh, good. He wants to go back to Zendikar again in the near future and do manlands. Great. Please, somebody fire Mark Rosewater. Just do the entire world a favor and get rid of this idiot. He is beyond having no clue what he's doing. He is actively obsessed with bringing back dangerous, broken shit. And it blows up in his face over and over and over, and there is zero accountability. I'm not even convinced that he wasn't the one who told the new CEO of Hasbro, or Wizards, or whoever the hell it is, that, oh, hey, let's push the power level way up of standard to sell more cards. I bet you that was his idea. I bet he was like, hey, Chris Cox, day one, nice to meet you, new CEO. Hey, I've got this wild idea that'll make a ton of money and make you look really smart. I bet that's what went on. I don't think that Chris was brought in and ruined it. I think Mark always was the problem, because he's always been the problem. Oh, and here's one that I would love to hear the answer for. Somebody asks, what are the discussions and shift in philosophy that led to black getting targeted enchantment removal? Let me rephrase that. What the hell went through your head to do this big of a color pie break after 26 years? What the hell is your problem, and what the were you thinking? You've had game and format warping, rooting garbage that are all considered color pie stretches and breaks that people have been calling you out on for the last 2 years. What the hell went into the decision to give black all of a sudden targeted enchantment removal? What the hell were you thinking? I believe that's what he meant to say, and if it isn't, he's wrong. So the answer is, and I haven't read this yet, this is going to be good. Whatever he says, it's bullshit. No matter what he says, there is no justification for this whatsoever. The shift started with a talk I had with Eric Lauer. Don't know who that is, don't care. Eric had noted that black was the only non-blue color that was unable to destroy 2 different card types, and that it was causing play design issues. He also noted that it was odd that artifacts had 3 colors that could deal with them, but enchantments only had 2. Those are shockingly logical, actually, but still, I mean, black needs a weakness. It's one of the more powerful colors. Black was the only non-blue color that couldn't destroy artifacts, but red also couldn't destroy enchantments. If we let black destroy enchantments, we could balance artifact and enchantment destruction and have each non-blue color have a card type that can't pinpoint destroy: white, land; black, artifact; red, enchantment; and green, creature. Oh, as if green force fighting isn't targeted removal. You gotta be kidding me. The power creep is so ridiculous, most of them don't even true fight anymore. They just deal damage equal to their power. Anyway, the 2 elements I asked for was that black can't destroy its own enchantments, because we like making the deal with the devil enchantments in black. Yeah, I could see that. And that black be third to white and green in enchantment destruction. We started slow so we could test things and ramp them up. In Zendikar Rising, we're trying targeted destruction to see if that's pushing too far. Yeah, probably. If it is, we can pull it back in the future. Okay, what was wrong in the last 4 years of Magic? I'll extend it to 4 years. Too much control. So his solution was, because symmetry, we're going to take 26 years of the color pie definitions, flush them down the toilet, and give black targeted enchantment removal. What a fantastic idea, and what a boon for the game. It's almost like Mark has no idea what he's doing, and no idea how the game works, and no idea what the fans want, or how to build a fair, balanced standard. And evidently, looking at his past work, he never has, so somebody needs to fire him, or he needs to quit. You know, he's liberal enough that he might go and join one of those riots and light a cop car on fire and go to jail for like 45 years. I would absolutely write him letters in prison, and I can't say on YouTube what they would say, but you could imagine. You know that episode of SpongeBob where he's writing the essay, and he looks like he's starting, and then he just writes one giant elaborate like medieval style calligraphy letter? That would be me, except the letter would definitely be F. I'll let you fill in the rest. So the next question, why didn't you just hold off the party mechanic until the D&D set? Yes, everybody wants to know this. Seriously. God, Twitter for iPhone. People, seriously. Seriously. Get a real phone that costs a real price and has real options and has a real micro SD slot. Anyway, the D&D set wasn't a thing yet when we were doing vision design. I don't think that's true. As much as I'd like to take his word for it, with what I know about when they designed them and how far ahead they designed them, it's in the same rotation. So that like can't be true, but I don't know. Who knows? They've been moving stuff around. They moved Eldrazi up like 3 years or something, I think. Or like one of those sets they had to flip-flop or something. It was odd. So who knows? Who knows? So he says, in fact, it was the positive internal reception to the party mechanic that helped us realize we should do a D&D set. No, it was the D&D department at Wizards finally being like, oh, you can use our IP, considering you're not even a third party and we lease it to third parties. Gee, I guess we could lend you some of the D&D IPs that are red hot and popular as shit for a giant, crossover marketing like thing. Considering we wave at you in the parking lot and see you every day at lunch. Like, my God, did they really think they couldn't trust them? Then again, if you worked in the D&D department and you heard rumors about how Magic was being managed, would you trust them with the D&D anything? Characters, lore, story? I wouldn't. So he goes on to say we did offer up party to the D&D vision design team, but they were fine with leaving it in Zendikar Rising. Wait a minute, does that mean that Mark didn't work on the D&D set? Holy shit, it might actually be good. Because he kind of made it sound like it was somebody else. Somebody just tweeted, no Eldrazi? ? There were only really ever 3 Eldrazi on Zendikar. There's a 4th one, we all know it, they hinted at it. It's probably Merit Lage. Anyway, Emrakul, Ulamog, and Kozilek. Every other Eldrazi creature was just an extension of one of them. Ulamog and Kozilek were killed, I don't know about that for sure, by the Gatewatch, and Emrakul left for another plane, Innistrad, where she is now trapped in the moon. By her own choosing, by the way. For right now, that means that there aren't any Eldrazi on Zendikar. But a 4th one could have showed up and they would have been like, what happened here? Or, since we all know the Wanderer is secretly Emrakul, or an avatar of Emrakul, or like a remote-controlled, like glorified Zoom call from the moon of Emrakul controlling the Wanderer, they could have had the Wanderer show up and start doing weird Eldrazi shit. Like, whatever. You know what? The Eldrazi were crap. They were overpowered and everybody hated them. BFZ was shit. So, you know what? The longer it takes them to come back, the better. Same with Slivers. Same with Infect. Same with the Phyrexians. Finally, we get to this one. Why is there no white or red inscription card? Yes. Yes. If he says because there's 6 lands, that is the most circular logic I've ever heard in my life, but I bet that's what he's going to say. Although I did guess wrong last time. So, you know how sometimes in the past we've made a cycle and some of the cards in it were really cool and others were kind of lame? No, like Steelleaf Champion was broken as shit, Chain Whirler was the most overpowered broken garbage I've seen in my life, and the rest were just appropriate. He's getting confused again what the difference between playable and broken is. So he says, well, the Zendikar set design team made a cycle of inscriptions and that's what happened. Wow, so there was a white and red one and they cut them. I didn't necessarily expect that. So they said they really liked the blue, black, and green ones. I'm actually sick to my ass of the black one already because I've been playing Arena. And didn't like the red one or the white one. So they tried redesigning them but couldn't get them on par with the 3 they liked. So they just decided to make an uneven cycle. So they gave up and hit delete is what he's saying. I think I just misread that. He says, so instead of making an uneven cycle, no, they made an uneven cycle. I guess he means uneven power-wise, but no, they made what anybody would call an incomplete, uneven, unbalanced cycle. Anyway, they replaced the white and red inscriptions with different and better cards they thought you would all enjoy more. Hey, Mark, you want to know a secret? I've got a spicy secret for you. Nobody's enjoying anything. The set is terrible. There is no enjoyment here, only pain, suffering, and misery. Anyway, the blue and green ones were the most important because the blue-green draft archetype revolves around Kicker. The team talked about pulling the black one, but they liked its design, so they kept it. Well, I don't like discard 2 for 3 mana with other options. That's actually the one I have the biggest problem with. But as far as like broken shit from the past, not even top 100 in the last 2 years, it's just, I don't like it. So next up, somebody says, in 2016, you said the lesson you learned from Battle for Zendikar was when returning to a world, you have to return to the things that players loved about it the first time you visited. Do you feel that you delivered that with party? No expeditions. Wait, I guess we didn't know about expeditions at the time? But then again, she does ask, do you feel that you delivered that with party? No expeditions, quests, or traps? I mean, I didn't play during original Zendikar, but I've seen some of the cards. Quests or traps? Girl, you've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And you get confused or something? What quests or traps did you activated my trap card? The hell are you talking about? And also there are expeditions. Let's see if he ends up like answering that. Like, and by the way, there were them. Let's see. During Vision Design, we did exactly that. We looked back at the data from the original Zendikar to figure out what players liked most. At the top of the list was full art basic lands. Hell yeah, they like money. I'm shocked. It took research for them to figure that out, apparently. We did that again. Yeah. Next up was Landfall. Let me just back that up. And we didn't print enough fat packs on top of it because we're idiots and didn't know that the demand would be higher. I got confirmation from my distributor that they did not print any more fat packs than they did for a set that didn't have 80 full art land packs in it. They didn't think demand would go up. They didn't think any more would be needed. And then they were $85 in eBay. What a bunch of idiots. So next up was Landfall. We did that again. I love these sentences. Next was Landfall. We did that again. After that, there were innovative land mechanics. We did that again. So he says, then came Allies. We felt Party was a cool take on the trope space that Allies filled and had every intention of all Party creatures being allies. Yes, I know, that would have been a train wreck. It didn't work out. Really? But the intent was there. That's just one more reason you should be fired. Next up was Kicker. We brought that back. Was that really in Zendikar? Kicker, multi-kicker, Strive, what is Overload? It's all the same shit. You pay more, you get more. People love that from Zendikar. No, it's just you pay more, you get more, and it makes irrelevant cards not irrelevant late game. That's like a basic part of the game. That's mana cost fundamentals here. Anyway. Let's see, animated lands, blah, blah, blah. I already lost any kind of interest in this. Where's the expeditions thing? Let's see. Here we go. He says, a cool new take on the adventure party trope, Kicker, and expeditions. So he just says, yeah, and there's expeditions now. FYI, hey, hindsight, it's October. I don't know, that whole question was weird. I don't give enough of a shit to read the rest of this. So there's one more question. Was there a reason why creating a new cycle of duels was done when there were allied duels done in the last trip to Zendikar with still no enemy counterparts? I didn't even realize that. He says, it basically boils down to this. There's a very narrow band of sets that can print MDFC dual lands, and we thought they'd be something that the players would really like. Well, you were wrong. We saw the opportunity and decided to take advantage of it. No, you misinterpreted the situation and thought people wanted double-sided cards ruining all their drafts again. There are numerous products that can print the enemy duels if we feel there's enough demand for them. Let me translate that. We can make money by sticking them in a different set in the future. Wizards' greed is endless, is what he probably should have said. So, that's it. So, he didn't answer anything about balancing or what a disaster it was because, in early September, it wasn't out yet. And anybody saying the set would ruin Standard and that rotation wouldn't fix Standard was an alarmist, unrealistic idiot who doesn't know what they're talking about. Oh wait, Standard is shit. It's twice as bad as it was before rotation, and I was right. So take that assessment and shove it square up your ass, everybody who left that comment. And I will see you guys next time Mark Rosewater tries to justify why he still works at Wizards.